If you don't have honesty, vulnerability, and consistent change, nothing will ever change. Nothing will ever happen. You don't have a baseline, a foundation for the relationship because there is no foundation of truth and it is all built on lies. Today we live in a world of liars. Many people all day, every day, in all different aspects of life are liars. This is how I showed up in my relationships and in my life for many, many years as a liar. People didn't realize that I was a liar. People didn't know that I was a liar because I didn't appear to be one. I would get caught lying, so people would think, oh, he's a bad liar, when in reality, I was a really good liar because I would only get caught in the lies that I wanted to get caught in. And over, you start to see in my own life and in society of more and more people becoming liars. People that are unwilling to actually tell the truth, to actually stand up for what is right, to actually be transparent with how they feel and the things that are going on inside. But instead, they start to sedate using drugs and alcohol and using social media and using all different types of things to distract them from the reality that they're showing up as liars. You see this in your life on a day-to-day basis because the person that is around you, the person that is with you, the person that is the abuser in your life has shown up consistently as being a liar. Now, this is a touchy subject for a lot of people and a touchy subject for a lot of narcissists. Being called out and saying, hey, you're a liar, that's not cool, right? Because who wants to be called a liar? It activates the guilt, it activates the shame of a narcissist, and as a result, they start to run away from it. I would always run away from being a liar, from being a cheater, and from being wrong because I didn't want to admit the truth of the situation. I didn't want to actually admit what was going on. I didn't want to give any reality or any credulence to the aspect of this is actually what's going on. But instead, I wanted to run from it. This is why I'd never admit that I was wrong. I would never apologize. I would never actually have changed behavior because I was a liar. Now, I wasn't just a liar to my boss, to my coworkers, to my friends, to my family, to my wife, to my daughter, but I was also a liar to myself. I was a liar to myself, telling myself a story of like, oh, this is what's happening. This is who I am. I'm just a victim. Everybody's leaving me. I would tell myself all these lies to try to show myself that I was a good person. When in reality, the evidence wasn't there of me actually showing up as a good person. All I was showing up was as a liar. So, one of the things I want to talk to today is about living by a code. Living by a set of standards of saying, hey, if I show up in these ways, I will be able to have results in my life that actually are not negative, but are positive. This is one of the pivotal shifts in my journey of healing, in my journey of understanding more about myself and understanding the lies that it was so easy to go back to. The lies that it was so easy to jump into and say, oh, this is so much easier just to tell this lie than it is to actually tell the truth. So do it over and over and over again. Just continue to tell lies upon lies upon lies. So when I talk about this concept of living by the code, I want you to understand that living by a code is a framework that I've adapted to my life. A framework that carries me from day to day to live in a way that is completely different than what I've lived before. But it has to get rooted on this foundational piece of honesty, of telling the truth. And this is how it breaks down in 4 parts. The first aspect is showing up real. Now, when I'm talking about real, I'm talking about being authentic. Like authentically who I am. This is the concept of cutting out the lies. This is saying, this is who I am. Take it or leave it, this is who I am. That means on social media, I don't really hold back and saying like, oh yeah, I'm a narcissist. No, I'm saying like, hey, I'm a narcissist. And I'm on here to try to help people with their awareness about narcissistic abuse, help them also grow, change, heal, and develop. We do that with hundreds of different people, helping them out, going through our challenges, going through one-on-one support, going through all different group coaching, all this kind of stuff. But I'm very upfront about it. Being real means I'm also owning all the shit that's happened in my life. This means that I look at the camera and I say, hey, I've cheated on my wife 5 times. This is not a boast. This is not a proud thing. This is saying, hey, you're not going to come at me and say, oh, you've cheated. I'm just, yes, I have. This is why I've said this. Because I need people to understand the awareness of it. I need people to wake up to the reality of it. Otherwise, we continue to move past it, to minimize it, to sedate from it, to run from it, then actually just approach the truth and say, hey, this person's being real, because you don't get that in the rest of your life. You don't get that with the people that you surrounded yourself with. You don't get that with some of your friends and some of your family, because they're unwilling to actually own what is actually real in their lives. For me, this is focusing on what are the actual facts. You hear me all the time talking about truth, talking about facts, talking about, hey, what is the reality? Because we have to get focused on what is actually true. What is the facts of the situation? Getting really real about that and saying, hey, this is who I am. So the facts of myself, okay, I'm a narcissist. Okay, I'm a cheater. Okay, I'm a liar. All these things. List it out. How to be able to understand the facts about me before I could do anything about it. And then once I knew the facts, and I got really real with that, I said, okay, this is what it actually is. Then I had to engage with feelings. This is the part where it comes out in the rawness of like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to feel. I don't want to experience any of these things, because feelings for a narcissist feel like vulnerable death. Like it feels like something that's going to be in your life that is absolutely going to destroy and annihilate you. Like having feelings, showing feelings, being vulnerable about those feelings. Ooh, yeah, no. Don't want to do that at all. So for me, getting to a place of saying, hey, I know this is who I am. Now, how do I actually feel about that? How am I actually expressing about that? What do I actually like or dislike about that? A lot of people are like, what was your light bulb moment? I'm like, I didn't have one. I had like a slow fade that slowly turned on, realizing that the cycle of abuse that I was doing to other people, the cycle in my mindset that was going over and over and over, was never going to stop. And I had to get to the reality of that. This is what's real. These are the facts about it. It's not going to stop. How do I feel about that? Well, it feels kind of crappy. It feels awful, because I'm stuck in a rut. I'm stuck in a place thinking at one time that I was just cursed and was going to be doomed to live this way for the rest of my life. I'm just going to cheat every couple of years. It's just something I'm just going to have to get over, almost like a disease. It's just going to happen. That was the mindset. And so understanding these concepts of having to break it down by living by a code. The first one is being real, authentic, true, honest, dealing with the facts. The second one is being raw. This is dealing with the feelings of how do I actually feel about the facts that I just put out there. And then we move to the third one, which is this concept of relevancy, of how does this actually matter in my life now? What should actually be done with this? You'll see a lot of people who they walk through life and they start to see something of like, oh, here's a problem, here's how I feel about it, but then they're unwilling to actually channel that into any type of focus. And instead, they just continue through life thinking it'll get better, thinking, hey, if I minimize this, then I don't have to think about it. If I push it aside, if I explain it away with humor, if I gaslight, manipulate, devalue, all these things. Like, if I just keep doing these things, it'll be okay. When in reality, it's not a focus that's actually going to get you the results that you want. So when we talk about this aspect of focus, we're talking about, hey, when I look at the facts of the situation and I understand how I feel about it, of how it's a dead-end thing, this is going to keep going over and over and over again, what does my focus need to be able to help shift myself from where I currently am to a different path, to a different way that's not abusive, to a different way that opens up your healing, to a different way that gets you free from the toxicity in your life? What does that look like? So then we move into how do we change your focus, the relevancy of what's happening. How do we change your focus to produce ultimately results? We want to see results in your life. And sometimes people are like, oh, results seem like too result driven. This is what people get valued on. This is what we look at in the business world of, do you have the results? Do you have the leads? Do you have the sales? Do you have the profit margins? You see the same results in the relationship. Do you have a healthy relationship? Do you have a relationship? Do you have a good relationship? You see the results in your body, of how much you weigh, of your body fat percentage, of your muscle mass, of all different aspects of it. You see this in your spirituality, of like how you actually feel about what's connected. What are the results? How do you see results in your life? These results are the fruit of your focus. What you focus on ends up producing ultimately the fruit that's in your life. So if you focus on the lies and you ignore the feelings, then you move through a focus that has completely no depth of what direction it's actually going, and you end up having this fruit that you're like, oh, this is kind of crappy. And then you look at that and you're like, this is the facts of like, this is crappy fruit. Like, what do I actually need to do about it? But this only works if you show up by living by a code. This is what we teach inside of our Thriver community of understanding people that you have to live by a code. You have to show up real and authentic of who you are. You have to show up raw and saying, hey, this is how I feel about it. This is what's going on. You have to be able to say, hey, because of this, how do I need to change my focus so I can actually produce the fruit that I actually want in my life? This whole concept was one that started to break and shift the frame of how I viewed things. Because when I realized that I was viewing life from my own perspective and it was false and it was fake, I had to be able to have something to latch onto to say, how do I get out of this? How do I work through this? How do I become the man that I'm called to be while I still have all these lies telling me a bunch of things that is not true? And so getting through this and understanding that living by a code is the single most important thing for people to do on a day-to-day basis, because if you cannot show up honest, if you cannot show up real about what is happening in your life, there is no foundation for you to grow. There is no foundation for you to change. There is no foundation for you to be free. If you'd like to know more about this, would love to work with you one-on-one or in our group setting, you can go to rawmotivation.com, click on the one-on-ones. If you want to just start down this journey, understanding more about not even just the code, but the core and the stack tools that we teach and tools that we give you the support system for, you can go to claritychallenge.net. It's a 45-day clarity challenge to break you free of the rumination and break you free from the toxic trauma bond that you're under. The thought process is like, I don't know what to do. Go to claritychallenge.net, listen to the other survivors that are on there, sign up today. You get access to the app that we use that brings you into tracking your core four, your habits, how you're actually showing up for you on a day-to-day basis, and stacking, which helps you rewire the mindset. claritychallenge.net, or if you want to talk to me personally, go to rawmotivations.com.